Bernie Sanders had another pretty bad night last night on Super Tuesday 2, in which Michigan, Washington, Mississippi, Idaho, Missouri, and North Dakota voted. Bernie lost Michigan, which he infamously, or famously, I should say, came back to win against Hillary in 2016, despite being down by huge polling margins. He did win North Dakota last night, the smallest of the states. Washington is still up in the air and being counted. It's a very tight race. Biden, he won the rest more decisively than a lot of people expected. So I want to give 5 reasons for Bernie Sanders' losses, both on Super Tuesday and last night, because it's important to understand going forward. And this is putting aside, all the moderate candidates dropping out and throwing their support behind Biden. We know that was a huge part of the reason, but this is diving deeper into the electoral and strategic reasons from the Bernie campaign, the reason that Bernie is losing right now. So 5 key reasons for Bernie Sanders' losses. The first 2 are a given. So inability to connect with older voters. I mean, look at this staggering Michigan exit polling data from the New York Times. Bernie overwhelmingly wins voters under 30, even narrowly wins voters between 30 and 44, which I'm sure, skews younger. But then under 30 numbers are basically inverted for Biden, who just crushed with 65 plus, which is ironic given his past Social Security stances. Number two, inability to connect with older Black voters, one of the most reliable voting blocs in the Democratic primary. This continued to be a problem last night. Bernie did not do enough to make the connection between his movement and what it would mean for older Black voters. That's on his campaign. And 3, Bernie didn't do well with suburbanites, with the white college-educated crowd. Something in Elizabeth Warren endorsement or on the VP ticket that would have helped. Thanks for that, Elizabeth, by the way. The last 2 weeks have showed that Biden is continuing to surge in the suburbs, where a major realignment that handed Democrats the House in 2018 is now benefiting the former vice president. The wins began on Super Tuesday in the suburbs around Dallas and Houston in Texas, as well as in Northern Virginia, outside Washington, D.C. In Minnesota, Biden, buoyed by Senator Amy Klobuchar's endorsement, dominated around Minneapolis and St. Paul. That trend appears to have continued on Tuesday night. Biden, with 87% of the vote counted, had already garnered over 138,000 votes in Oakland County, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. 4 years ago, Clinton won Oakland County, but with only 92,000 votes, a key reason that she lost the state to Sanders. The same is true in McCobb County, another Detroit suburb. With 71% of the votes counted, Biden is leading Sanders easily and has already won 58,000 votes. Clinton narrowly won the county in the primary with just under 48,000 votes in 2016. So that's that. And additionally, the 4th reason, Bernie lost gains with rural voters, which he dominated in 2016. Throughout Michigan, exit polls show Sanders losing rural voters to Biden by a 51% to 40% margin. Sanders won 57% of the rural vote in 2016. Among white voters without a college degree, Sanders won just 43% of the vote in 2020 after claiming 57% back in 2016. And these results are pretty universal across the states, but I saved the most important prong for last because it connects to those losses. Messaging. Bernie Sanders' campaign has failed in aspects of messaging in a few ways. The biggest is electability. Exit polls show that Bernie is winning the policy argument. People agree with him on policy, specifically Medicare for all, but they think Biden's more electable. The Democratic electorate has become obsessed with getting rid of Trump, and they think Biden can do that, even though I think it's crazy. It didn't help that on cable TV, Bernie literally said that he thinks Biden can beat Trump. I think Bernie's wrong. In 2016, Bernie benefited from Hillary having been attacked relentlessly from the right for years, for decades upon decades. Fox News, the Republicans, they did the oppo for him. The right hasn't done the same for Joe Biden yet. His corruption and his flaws, they aren't baked into the public discourse in the way, Hillary's was. So Bernie hasn't attacked anything about Biden in a meaningful way. He hasn't connected it to electability. He should be talking about how he's the progressive, he's the hope and change candidate that's carrying Obama's legacy forward, not Biden. But he hasn't done that. He's refused to do that. He's refused to attack his friend Joe Biden, even saying that he can defeat Trump, which is the number one thing he shouldn't have said. And it may be too late, guys. It really may be too late. I'm not saying give up. Please don't give up, but it may be too late.